What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We got somewhat of a serious video today. After 7 years in Europe, American news shocked me. Now, I don't have to spend 7 years in Europe for American news to shock me. It shocks me all the time when I scroll by and look at it. I don't actually watch the news like on the local broadcasts. I like getting my news from other sources, but hey, it is wild. It's crazy. I don't know what the hell we're doing over here. Honestly, I don't know what it looks like in other countries. I've been starting to follow some news channels out of Europe, a little bit more in the UK. Seems like things have been coming across my feed and, you know, I'm kind of curious, but this one is about the American news system. And if it's anything related to how I feel about American news, then it should be a good watch. Haven't seen it yet. I'm really curious. I have watched about 5 seconds of it, so it shows Donald Trump's face. You don't have to immediately hit the dislike button when you see his face, if you want to go ahead. But yeah, I'm going to give my balanced and honest approach to all of this. Also, just really appreciate you guys watching. We've hit almost 20,000 subscribers in just a little over 3 months. My mind is blown. I'm a little taken back. Kind of doesn't feel real, but I just want to say I do appreciate. I'm so happy to connect with all you guys. I may not respond to all the comments, but I do read them as much as I can. There's a lot, but I'm trying my hardest. Let's just get straight into this one. I don't want to keep you waiting too long. Hit the like button. Let's dive in. All right, this came out 4 weeks ago, so let's see what's going on.
Turned on the news and watched as the far left media once again used tragedy to sow anger and division.
I'm not going back to Haiti.
Child rapists.
President Trump's big, beautiful bill has passed.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
You are fake news.
No earthly clue.
Watching the news in America is like watching reality television. You don't see journalists.
Yes.
You see personalities.
How to train a radical.
The left isn't good at violence. They just love violence.
Don't be a dick.
Wait, didn't she shoot a dog?
You don't get facts. You get opinions.
Those would-be terrorists.
This was not a domestic terrorist.
You don't find truth. You find drama.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein?
Trump and Epstein were friends.
There was a client list.
Donald Trump's name is in them.
These are supposed to be news outlets. You have two completely different narratives.
In Europe, the news felt boring, calm, responsible. But since coming back to the US, I turn on the news and feel angry, frustrated, stressed. It's one of the biggest reverse culture shocks I've had since coming back to America.
That's part of the reason why I don't watch a lot of it. Everybody's just so damn mad. You know, this is a master divide and conquer game plan that they put on a lot of countries, not just the US, but it's disgusting that like everybody's so split and has to fight with each other. It's like, can we just be fucking civil?
I asked myself, what the heck is going on with American media? In this video, we'll explore how American media went from informing to performing. I'll break down how money and psychology fuel a never-ending loop of division. I'll share my experience working with executives at one of America's biggest media companies. We'll compare how Europe does media very differently. Then we'll talk about why this matters, how American media has affected trust, happiness, and even democracy. And if history is any clue, it might just be fueling America's decline as a world power. And finally, what can we do about it? But first, let me tell you about American media by telling you about my dating life. So I went on this triple date about 10 years ago, and this girl from Norway tells us the biggest shock that she faced in America was how divided America was. No one trusted the government. No one trusted the media. Because in Norway, most people actually trust the government and the media too. In fact, in Europe, EU citizens trust traditional media the most in the world. But in the US, trust in the government has fallen drastically since the 60s.
Kind of crazy that everybody is still so split. I mean, not so like as of recent, since Trump got elected this last time, coming just from my personal observation of what I see out in American culture, there's definitely the pendulum has swung over to the right a lot more, which it will swing back. That's what it does. It's the pendulum swings back and forth. But it's pretty crazy how we have such little trust in media and in government, yet it still has this effect on us that we're like clashing with each other, or most people. I don't, but most people are still clashing with each other and like hate the other side or like want to fight with them. Yet when the only people that are really pushing that out is like the major media news outlets. But it's crazy.
Media today, it's become one of the least trusted institutions in America. But it wasn't always like this. News media used to be one of the most trusted institutions in America. In the 60s and 70s, there were mainly three big TV networks: ABC, NBC, and CBS. And the news was a lot more neutral. The Fairness Doctrine made sure broadcasters presented multiple views on issues of public importance. But in 1987, the Fairness Doctrine was repealed.
The First Amendment does not guarantee a fair press, only a free press.
This led to the rise of opinion-driven partisan media in the 90s. First came Rush Limbaugh, then Fox News in 1996, then MSNBC, and many other pundits and opinion shows too. And CNN, they were the first to do 24/7 news, which changed the media game. Suddenly, the news became more competitive. There was more pressure to be the first. And today, the news is so political that when tragedy strikes, headlines blame instead of report.
Fox News, MSNBC, completely opposite. Trump team fires back at Schumer's blame game about Texas flood tragedy. Trump's response to flooding in Texas reflects a glaring inequality. Same event, different headline. Pretty crazy.
It's hard to know what's real or fake anymore. For example, just look at how differently these news outlets reported on the US airstrikes in Iran. According to CNN, the US airstrikes failed, but Fox News says there's irrefutable evidence of success. And Trump?
Fake news, CNN, the nuclear sites in Iran are complete.
Don't do the voice. Why are you doing the voice? God.
Completely destroyed.
It's about opinions, which side you're on, which creates bias, yet there's very little regulatory pushback in the US. So Americans only trust media that's on their side. And it's all part of a bigger shift in America in the past 50 years. It might start with politics, but it goes deeper than that. We've become divided on history, immigration, gender, social values, tribalism.
Once we connect to a tribe, we cling to it, and we want to defend it no matter what.
This tribal thinking that everyone seems to be engaged in on the right and on the left.
You kind of ignore facts. You want to stick to your team and be loyal to it.
If you guys have been watching me for any length over the past couple of months, I have said multiple times that I cannot stand tribalism, especially like in politics. It drives me nuts.
I've seen friends unfriend each other just because they believe something different. I've seen families, relationships fall apart too. And mass media is the fuel that drives polarization and tribalism in America. So how did America become this divided? Well, it's not only political. It's also business. In the US, mass media is run by corporations and billionaires, and they're publicly traded companies, which means it's all about revenue and profits. I used to work in finance at Universal Pictures, which is owned by Comcast.
Now, I want to give all these companies here, if you follow the money of the companies that own these companies, you'll get a better picture of exactly what's going on. And it's not like a ton of them. It's like one or two.
I worked directly with Hollywood and media executives, and we ran numbers all the time, movies, television, advertising. And we would report numbers up to the CEO of Comcast. And let me tell you, in business, it's always about how can we get more people to buy, to watch. And in a public company, you always want more. So this pressure trickles down into the organization to different teams. And networks like CNN and Fox News, they make most of their money off of affiliate fees, which is money charged to providers such as cable channels, and advertising. For example, while I'm trying to read the news, I'm subconsciously being sold new tires or a couple's massage.
Oh, God.
But hey, it's a business. And if you want to grow, you need more views to drive up higher TV ratings. And how do you get more views?
Well, a disturbing development on the border crisis. Wait until you hear this.
With fear. Doesn't matter what side it is. Fear gets views.
This meme on your phone, or this meme
They target their already polarized audience by creating more polarizing content. And people seek out information that confirms what they already believe. This is called confirmation bias. A Fox News viewer is more likely to watch material that is critical of illegal immigration. A CNN viewer may prefer stories that highlight racial injustice. Humans are naturally hardwired to belong to a tribe.
I don't get where this whole JD Vance like meme thing came from. I have no idea. I see it on my X feed all the time, like just a random image or like someone's profile picture like this. And I'm always like, where did this come from? It's so weird.
The audience has biases. The media creates content that targets that bias. Viewers feel validated, so they keep watching. Media executives are happy, but they need to keep growing, so they push more us versus them content. The audience becomes more divided, and the cycle continues. But in Europe, it's different. The pace and tone of media is slower, more explanatory, and it's less biased. And that's because a lot of European media is public media, paid for by the taxpayers. In the Netherlands, each person pays around $60 a year in taxes to fund public media. In Germany, it's around $140. Norway, $110. The UK, $81. And the US, around $3 per person. Well, in the US today, the main source of news is now social media.
I was just gonna say, I don't watch these big like news platforms and channels and companies. Usually if I'm picking up any type of news, I get it from long form content. Like if I'm going to hear, I don't know, a presidential nominee or a congressman or somebody who has a point of view on some type of whatever, like a new bill coming out, I like to listen to a really long form piece of content, like having them sit down. Obviously, Joe Rogan was like one of the first people to do this, sitting down for 3 hours. And there is some truth behind that, because when you're talking for that long, there's only so much bullshit that you can give out before you start getting caught up in your lies. So I think the younger generation does like this more long form content. I know he said social media. I'm talking a little bit more about long form content, podcasts, like long interviews, things like that.
But in Europe, the main source of news is public media. And most people in Western Europe do trust public media because public media is better protected by law from political and business influences. For example, in the EU, the European Media Freedom Act protects journalists from political pressure and requires transparency about media ownership. The Digital Services Act forces big tech like Meta and YouTube to identify and remove hate speech and misinformation on their platforms. And across Europe, countries have their own media laws too. In the UK, the BBC must be impartial. It's in their royal charter. In the Netherlands, public broadcasters are legally protected from political and business influence. In the US, the First Amendment protects freedom of speech. But there's no law against media misinformation.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats.
Breaking news. A very important part of these videos comes from you, the audience. So if you have something to add, please leave them in the comments below so we can learn from each other. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd appreciate your support if you hit the subscribe button.
I'm gonna subscribe, y'all. I'm liking this content. He's doing a good job.
When it comes to press freedom, which is the ability of journalism to be free from any external influence besides the public interest, Europe leads the world in press freedom, but the US, it doesn't rank very well. And there is public media 57? In the US too, NPR, PBS, and they do score quite high in terms of reliability.
I'm going to say this right here. As somebody who is a centrist, somebody who doesn't have a political party, when it says neutral left bias, all of these companies, I've listened to PBS, I've listened to NPR, they are definitely more along the lines of like a strong left or a hyper-partisan left. And that's just the honesty of it. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying like that's the reality of it if you were to actually listen to it.
Too. But the Trump administration is seeking to eliminate funding from them. Trump believes they spread far-left propaganda. Again, American media is driven by politics and profits. But in Europe, yes, of course, there's always some bias. But it's not at the same level as American media, because public information in Europe is the main driver. Another difference is that in the US, there are a lot more pundits, public commentators, and influencers. You find them on both sides. And they've become a key source of information for many people. talk shows, radio, television, podcasts, YouTube channels. And now with the rise of social media, there are even more influencers in this space too. But the problem is, online influencers are also the biggest source of misinformation. And when you combine mass media, pundits, and social media, this further fuels the polarization of America. In Europe, there are pundits too, but there are rules. For example, Gary Lineker, the BBC sports presenter, was suspended in 2023 for comments he made about UK's immigrant policy.
There is no huge influx. We take far fewer refugees than any major European countries. This is just an immeasurably cruel policy directed at the most vulnerable people in language that is not dissimilar to that used by Germany in the 30s. Okay, dude, I'm really getting sick of the whole Nazi Germany references that go around now. Literally, you say one thing and you're called a Nazi. It's kind of annoying. And I'm out of order. There's no huge influx of immigration, refugees. You guys don't have a lot of immigration in Europe? I guess maybe there is misinformation then, because kind of what I see is a little different. I mean, I watched some of the news out of Europe, so I don't know. I could be wrong.
Comments he made about UK's immigrant policy. And in 2025, he's leaving the BBC after sharing a post on Zionism on Instagram. In Europe, there is freedom of expression, but if you work for a public broadcaster like the BBC, ARD, NOS, there are strict rules around impartiality.
Absolutely driven by a passion for impartiality.
Another difference between European and American media is
America first.
We are America, second to none.
America is and has always focused on America first. Around only 10% of US news is international. That's probably one of the reasons why Americans get stereotyped for being dumb, self-centered, and not knowledgeable about the world.
Africa? That's a continent.
Africa?
Nope.
Russia?
Oh my God.
Is this one Europe? No. This one? No.
Dear God.
Because some people out there in our nation don't.
This is the best.
And to be honest, from my
Oh, no. I wish they put the full video in there. That is one of the most hilarious clips I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh. All right, let me go back a little. He's about to start talking. Sorry. If you guys have never seen this, go look it up. It's like a beauty pageant. Miss Universe or whatever the hell it is. Just put whatever. Like, you'll find it. It'll show up. Hilarious.
Don't have that.
And to be honest, from my experience living in Europe, I find Europeans a lot more knowledgeable, not just about the world, but they seem more knowledgeable about what's happening in America than Americans are. You can blame Americans for not knowing, but just know that it's also a problem of the system too. So what? Why does this matter? Well, fortunately, unfortunately, what happens in America tends to impact Europe and the rest of the world too. Trust in media and in the government are at all-time lows. And that's a problem because democracies depend on trust. And it matters a lot if we want to save democracy. When people trust institutions and society, people are more likely to vote, to volunteer, to help each other out. And when we lose trust in others, we are less happy as well. According to Gallup, trust in people and institutions is one of the key predictors of happiness. In Europe, people tend to trust people more. And Europeans are some of the happiest people in the world. In the US, trust is down, volunteering is down, civic participation is down, happiness is down. American media has not only played a role in eroding trust and happiness, it's worn down our mental health too. Humans have negativity bias. We're wired to pay more attention to negative information as a survival mechanism. And studies show the news has become a lot more negative. More anger, disgust, fear, and sadness. This activates our fight or flight response. More stress, more anxiety. And we doom scroll, believing that the constant feed keeps us safe. We get more dopamine. We continue swiping.
It's what's crazy is you can get wrapped up, and I'm not any better than anyone else. I've been wrapped up in news articles, seeing all this negativity that's going on, a lot of fear, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the world is so crazy, and oh my god, everything's falling apart, and like I kind of feel like that. I used to at least would feel like that, and then I finally just realized I was like, when I go out though, everyone I know is cordial and nice and happy, and I got a good life and got great kids and a good wife, and at some point that's kind of why I started to disconnect a little bit just because I was like, I can't handle it. Like, I'm not going to live in this constant state of fear and panic constantly when it's not really like, you know, I'm just manifesting that into my actual life, which is honestly what some of this news does. Hopefully I'm not getting too, I don't know. Hopefully I'm not pissing you guys off too much talking about this. I really don't cover too much political stuff, but let's see here. Matthew, thanks for the request. Matthew requested this, so that's why I'm kind of popping it in. All right, let's get back to this. Really, really good video, by the way.
The algorithms know this, and we get more bad news, and the cycle continues. And lastly, this polarization may signal the decline of the American world order. Let me explain. After World War I, a divided media landscape in Germany spread propaganda and helped pave the way for the Nazis' rise to power. In Yugoslavia, media polarization played a key role in fueling the Civil War. And in 1800s America, the sudden rise of news communication, political influencers, and propaganda deepened the divide between the North and the South, which helped accelerate the Civil War. I'm not saying the US today is the same as these examples.
Isn't it a kind of good thing that we had the Civil War, though? I mean, some of the other wars, probably not good. I think the point got a little lost there, though, with like saying that the media divided America and caused the Civil War. And it's like, well, yeah, the Civil War needed to happen. Like, we needed to free the slaves. And I know that's not what the entire war was about. And I don't know if you guys know American history, but there was a lot more to it. But I would say that that war was a net positive for America and for the world.
But what history does show is that when media polarizes, it divides and it pushes societies apart. Ray Dalio, billionaire investor and author, argues that world power
That's this book right here. Yeah, this is a great book. If you guys haven't read this before, you should check it out. Fantastic book. Changing World Order by Ray Dalio. Good stuff there.
Dalio, billionaire investor and author, argues that world powers follow a similar big cycle. They rise through education, innovation, military strength, and trade. And they fall through internal division, high debt, inequality, and external pressure. And Ray believes that the US is now in the stages
on its downfall,
of
its decline.
Now, I don't want to sound...
I believe he thinks we are... Believe in the book, which was written in... When did this come out? This had to have been 2021. And in the book, I believe he said we were just past 4. He's got the little flag here going down to 5, but this is a much longer cycle than it actually looks. This is like dozens of years. And I believe we were like, we've crossed the top and we're going down on the 4. So you guys won't have to listen to America for too much longer.
Stages of decline. Now, I don't want to sound alarming.
And I didn't mean listen to America. I meant like listen to stuff about America constantly.
But if we do look at history, history doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. So now what? Big media thrives on division, but America doesn't have to. Here's what I believe we can do as individuals. Understand that most major American media...
Kudos to him for actually giving a solution and not just like giving a presentation. Thank you.
It's our businesses first. Their main goal isn't to inform. Their main goal is to make money, to hook our emotions. We can also stay more informed and in control by diversifying our news sources. Don't just read CNN or Fox News, read both. And try international sources like the BBC too. And talk to real people, even if they have different opinions, perspectives. And here's what I hope changes at the systemic level. In a world full of fake news, misinformation, and AI, we need stronger critical thinking skills. We need media literacy in education. And Finland is an example that the world can follow. They train teachers and students to identify fake news, to build their critical thinking skills.
Educators credit a system that begins the
That's
moment
really cool.
they enter public school.
It's more about familiarizing children also with what the digital world is, to make sure that all children have a sufficient set of digital skills.
Some US states like Delaware and New Jersey are starting to follow too. Now, I know this is going to be a long shot, and I know regulation seems to be a bad word in the US. but I believe we need more of it to prevent misinformation.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, it's not that, I'm not saying that there's not misinformation out there and that like having something in place to decide what is and what isn't misinformation or real information. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like ultimately, if it were to work, it's good, but it's just hard when you have to basically put your trust in, here in America at least, that whoever is in charge of that is being honest and doing right by everyone. And since we don't have a lot of trust in our society, I think that's where we lose that. I think we got to build trust with each other first before we try and implement anything like that. I don't know, hopefully that makes sense. You know, he's correct. We don't trust our government. We don't trust our media. So it's like Republicans are in office right now. Do the Democrats really trust Republicans to be the ones to set up the Fairness Act 2.0 of information? Probably not. You know, I think we need to solve our problems with our culture and our communities first before we ever try and think about doing something like that. Finland, you know, way different country. They have it together. You know, everyone seems to live in a great system with each other. They're able to do it, and there's a lot more trust. So, yeah, I think we need to have trust first.
With this. One of the biggest culture shocks I've experienced since coming back to the US is just how divided the country has become. And I do believe that American media has played a huge role in that. So I'm curious, what do you think about American media? And how does this compare to media where you're from? Please leave them in the comments below. I'm curious to hear and learn.
All right, guys, check out Davide Wen. Really good video, man. I really enjoyed that. You know, I think he made a lot of good points. You know, I don't agree with everyone 100%, and I don't put belief in anyone really other than myself. So I still think he did a fantastic job, though, kind of laying out exactly how the landscape is and gave his ideas for some solutions at the end there. Great stuff. So check him out. I'll put a link down in the description below of the video. You can head over and check out his channel if you want to watch more of his content. If you enjoyed this video, give me your thoughts in the comments. I'm sure you guys definitely have something, whether I pissed you off from something that I said, or if you agree with me. I want to hear all of it. That's how we heal and get better as a world race. And with that, I'll head out. Appreciate you guys watching. See you in the next one. Peace.